So we are exactly 1 week away from New York Comic Con, and normally when we have these big shows like New York Comic Con or San Diego or BotCon or anything of that manner, we have all these reveals that come with it. And lo and behold, a week before New York Comic Con, there has been a leak of what is potentially a list of a whole bunch of new Hasbro product related to the Siege toy line. Now, we had something like this before where we said take it with a grain of salt, and lo and behold, even though we unpacked it on the podcast, it turned out to be all real. So chances are this could be the same thing. Now, this information all comes from Southern Hobby's website. It's a toy-based website, and they put all these listings up for different products. And then what really kind of adds credence to this possibly being real is they quickly took down all of these listings, but not before, obviously, all of us saw everything, made lists, and documented everything. Now, I'm going to unpack all of this. Again, take it all with a grain of salt. I'm going to, like we always do on the podcast, do it with a very rational manner. We look at reasoning why some of this could be real, how some of it could not be real. And, just have fun with it. So I'm going to list it all from top to bottom, from the little price, from the assortment numbers and everything. So we're going to start with the first one here, the MicroMaster Hot Rod Patrol. Now, I hope this one's real because I love the Hot Rod Patrol, not just because of a certain name of my favorite character. Hot Rod Patrol has a whole bunch of history with it, too, because that was the last time Hasbro had the trademark before they lost it to Mattel, and we lost the ability to use that name for a certain Rodimus-related character for years. But now that they have Hot Rod back since the last night, and it's just now they figure, hey, we'll make our Hot Rod Patrol. If this is legit, now who would they use? Because this is obviously going to be a 2-pack in that MicroMaster price point. Now, when you break it down, the Hot Rod Patrol consisted of 4 different trademarks, and only one of them really got reused once, but all of them otherwise are dead trademarks. We had Hubs, which was that green hot-rodded car. It was a 1941-1942 Willys Coupe. We had Greaser, who was like an orange kind of hot-rodded car, very hot rod looking if they decide to do that one. A 1934 shortened Ford Double Coupe. We have Trip Up, who was a 1966 Ford Mustang. Literally looks like Tailgate, one of the Generation 1 characters. It's like Tailgate if you got rid of some of the light blues and put some hot neon greens. I don't think that one will happen, just because it looks so much like Tailgate in alt mode. It's ridiculous. And then, of course, the king himself, Big Daddy, the 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air with a hot-rodded engine, which Bel Airs usually normally don't have that. Big Daddy was the only one of this bunch that actually had a toy done afterwards with that trademark, which was the Universe 2008. Well, actually, it was a movie toy that was supposed to be part of the Universe line of Big Daddy, and they trademarked Big Daddy. And it's funny because I talked about this on my Twitter not too long ago, how Big Daddy is one of those trademarks I'd like to see come back. So maybe it is going to come back. All of these guys were 1990 trademarks, and they all expired in 93. And then that was it. Never been renewed since. Big Daddy was renewed in 2008 for that movie toy / Universe toy. And then that even expired. So who knows? Maybe we're going to get a Big Daddy. Me personally, I think the best mix of the bunch would be use Big Daddy, because that's a trademark that I see they already would like to bring back just by the joke of the 2008 release. And maybe Hubs. If you use Greaser, that's an orange, hot-rodded looking car, a little too much on the nose. Trip Up really looks like Tailgate. It's pretty ridiculous. Hubs, a green, hot-rodded car, kind of cool, very unique kind of look to him. And Hubs, I mean, you could re-trademark Hubs, or maybe you just use Hubcab. I don't know. That's one way to go about it. Next one, MicroMaster Military Patrol. This was one of the 1990 4-packs back in the day, and it consisted of Bomb Shock, Dropshot, Growl, and Tracer. Now, from a trademark standpoint, because we always tackle it from a trademark standpoint, let's say they just went with what trademarks they have available. Bomb Shock was, a 1990s green tank. They trademarked it again for Power Core Combiners in 2010. And then that name found itself on the Insecticon character in 2013 for Transformers Prime. So it's something that at the moment is kind of being used for Insecticon characters, and I could see it being used again here, perhaps. Then you got Dropshot. He was the blue tank. He was used only once in 2008 for the Universe 2.0 line. Growl was the brown kind of Hummer-looking vehicle. Right now, there's in 2018, Rescue Bots had a blue like canine Doberman dog cycle Rescue Bot toy that was called Growl. So they still have that trademark, oddly. And Tracer, which was oddly enough, this is a weird trademark because it actually is a Micromaster that before it was the Micromaster Tracer, it was actually another small Transformer. It was the gun, the Target Master, double Target Master gun for Scoop, was called Tracer in 1988. Then, of course, they redid the trademark in 1990, used it for this black helicopter Micromaster, and nothing ever since then. For all we know, with the name Tracer, with what's happening with Overwatch, probably they won't use that one. I'm going to go with Bomb Shock being used and possibly maybe Growl over Dropshot. If they do Bomb Shock and Dropshot together, it's one green tank, one purple tank. Kind of boring. But if you do Bomb Shock, which is a trademark they have, and Growl, which is a trademark they have very recently, you have a brown Hummer with a green tank, a little bit mixed up. So I could see those two being used. Here's an interesting one, Deluxe Cliff Jumper. And the only reason why I see this happening especially is because the last USA trademarked Cliff Jumper toy of any kind of merchandise there was this small little line called Alt Modes, which I don't know if you remember them. There were these blind pack Transformer, I guess we'll call merchandise, which was like the head of the character, and if you opened up the head, it had the little car alt mode under it. They did Starscream, they did Optimus, they did a whole bunch of them. Those came out in 2016. They were used as a way to trademark some names like Nemesis Prime and other characters that just were kind of hanging in limbo right now. And Cliff Jumper was one of them. Well, that was 2016. It's 2019. Trademarks are coming up. So very strong possibility with that because we haven't had a Cliff Jumper in a while of anything really in an American trademark standpoint. Wheeljack, they said here. There's a deluxe Wheeljack. Again, going back to the Cliff Jumper, if it does happen, probably a Cybertronian alt mode kind of vehicle, which would be interesting to see because that might give an indication of how they would tackle a Bumblebee if they do the same thing. Wheeljack here, it's also kind of the same thing, where it's probably going to be a Cybertronian vehicle, which would be very welcome because it's like, hey, that's one of those first Cybertronian vehicles we ever saw in Transformers lore. He was like the first character we ever saw in Transformers history when you watch the very first episode of Mortem Meets the Eye Parts 1. So to get that iconic alt mode would be really cool. And as from a trademark standpoint, I mean, he just had a Cyberverse toy, so it's very fresh. Deluxe Hoist, again, another character that would be really cool to see what an alt mode would look like, Cybertronian. But from a trademark standpoint, hey, Rescue Bots Academy just had a toy, so it's still fresh. Here's an interesting one. Okay, so we have a Deluxe Ironworks. Now, it's funny because we got a Micromaster in that 10-pack recently called Iron Treads. And we thought it was called Iron Treads because they didn't have the trademark to Ironworks, because Iron Treads obviously being an homage to the old Ironworks, or it's the same character pretty much, the old Ironworks Micromaster base character. But now we have this Deluxe Ironworks, which is weird because wouldn't they just have called the Iron Tread Ironworks? I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. But chances are this isn't a deluxe version of the same yellow character. It could be, perhaps, this is just an assumption, that it could be the new kind of stand-in trademark name for the character of Iron Fist. Not related to the Marvel character, but so much the Euro 1992-93 Transformer character. Now, we know that that character had a new name in the more recent lore, like it was trademarked under Fistatron with the animated 2011 BotCon box set, and then same thing with BotCon Fun Publication. They did their Transformer Collector Club 2.0 in 2014. That trademark's already expired, so maybe they're going with Ironworks. That's one possibility. Maybe it could be the new Erector name or Shafter. I don't know. But that's a really weird one. That one we don't really know what it could be. Then we have a Voyager Starscream Earth here. I don't want to think that they're doing yet another Seeker Jet classic Starscream mold. I want to believe that this is a Voyager Earth Starscream, but using a Starscream from probably the other lores of Starscream. Now, one could argue, well, it's probably not going to be Armada because we had recently that, a couple of years ago, that Generations Deluxe Armada Starscream. And if they did a Voyager one, I mean, it's the original Armada toy was a Voyager scale, so what would you really want to revisit there? Could be an Energon, could be the Cybertron one, but then the argument with the Cybertron one is the Cybertron one kind of already was the Tetrajet kind of look. So this one's kind of interesting. What could it be? What can it be? Could it, and if it really is just going back to that Seeker Jet design again, I mean, really the first Starscream Siege one really already had that silhouette and that alt mode and the robot mode. The robot mode is pretty much just, G1 Starscream. To go do that again? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's Starscream from Beast Wars 2nd, the one with BB and Starscream. Who knows? I think I want it to be another Starscream. Maybe it's animated Starscream. Oh, wow, wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be cool to revisit that? Or maybe it's Prime Starscream, or it's something where I'm more curious to see if it would be something that isn't so much the Generation 1 Seeker Jet all over again. Here's an interesting one from a trademark standpoint, Voyager Grapple. Now, Grapple had this weird history where Hasbro lost the trademark to Grapple many years ago. When they did the Universe Generations Grapple, they called it Solar Storm Grappel, which was that Voyager 2011 toy, and because they just didn't have the rights to Grapple. So they gave him some weird name just for that one time. But then in 2015, they managed to get the trademark back, and they took that opportunity, which, again, I've always said Creo kind of existed to get a lot of those trademarks, sealed up. And they did the Creon Class of 1985 pack for San Diego Comic-Con 2015, and they re-trademarked Grapple for that box set. So again, 2015, trademarks are coming up. Very good time to put out a Grapple toy that's finally called Grapple. And the final one here, Leader Class Optimus Prime with trailer. Everyone sees the writing on the wall with this one. This is clearly that Armada Optimus Prime with trailer, Micron Convoy with trailer that we saw like Wonder Festival and everything in prototype form and prototype resin. So it's clearly going to be that if all of this is real. And that's pretty much it. This is pretty much what has been leaked. A lot of it I could see it being credible just because of trademarks coming up, what has been shown to us, and what just kind of makes sense. And I mean, I kind of hope some of this is real. I would really like a new Big Daddy. That's a sentence right there. I would really like a new Big Daddy. It would be nice to finally get a Cliff Jumper toy that's maybe its own thing, but it's probably going to be the Cybertronian one. It's kind of clever, too, because if you do the Cliff Jumper one first, it'll sell very well. And then when you do the Bumblebee one afterwards, which a lot of people would be excited to have as a companion piece to that Wheeljack, it would sell just as well, too, with the fans. So a lot of good stuff here. The Hoist and the Grapple, are they going to go with a more 1985 design cue? Probably not. Probably going to go for that Cybertronian look for both of them. So, again, both of those characters already had pretty good Generations toys, so to do something different on a more Cybertronian nature would make more sense. Again, if all this stuff is legitimate. And again, that Armada one, hey, that's great. I mean, the old Armada toy, as fun as it was, is fragile as heck because of the gold plastic and everything. So nice to get a new modern interpretation of that classic design. Classic now, 2002. Imagine, classic now. It's been years. But yeah, that's my take on all of this. I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Let me know what you think about all of this. And if it is real, and we'll be having this conversation in a week from now, anyways, when some of the early photos from the show start leaking at New York Comic Con, and then we'll see if this was all right or this was all just hot air.